Welcome, everyone, to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host, Hayden Lee. I am joined this week by my co-host, managing partner at Spot On Solutions, Katie Harris. Katie, thanks for joining the podcast this week.
You bet. It's easy to come on when one of my favorite people is joining you as well. So I got two favorite people right here on the podcast today.
It's a good time always. And we have returning guests, someone that we've loved, the relationship that we've built over the years with Michelle. It's been awesome to work with her and record podcasts together. We've done a bunch of stuff. Michelle Blevins, owner and publisher over at C&R Magazine. Michelle, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me here. I love chatting with both of you, and we had fun at the collective a few weeks ago. And I think I say it every time I see you guys, but I'm so thankful for the partnership that C&R and SOS has had from the very beginning. For me, last week was 3 years since owning it, but you guys were in it with me even prior to that, which was really exciting. And we also have some new things coming, which is kind of behind the scenes working on that I know Katie has ideas for and stuff like that too. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you for always backing up C&R, and I love supporting SOS as well. So thank you.
Oh,
You bet. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
I am like consciously making an effort, Michelle, not to spill what we're working on with the C&R website right now. So Hayden doesn't even know yet what we're working on, but everybody listening, like it's been such a labor of love to create the C&R website with you, and Spot On Solutions love being a part of that in the very beginning. And we're always looking at ways it can be more important and more relevant to the industry, more helpful. And I will just tease it. I won't even say anything more than that. But there is one page on the C&R website that industry-wide is the most visited page and is super popular. And we're going to bring some improvements and updates to that.
I'm curious if Hayden has any guesses on what that page would be. If he guesses it, then it's okay. You have any guesses?
I don't even know if I have a guess. The homepage? No, I don't know. No, I really don't have a guess. So that's now I'm very intrigued, and I'm pretty sure if I twist enough arms here at Spot On Solutions, I could probably get access to the back end to actually know what page it is. But I won't do that. I won't do that. So I'm just going to be just as surprised as everybody else when you guys announce this stuff. So that's cool.
It's fun. I feel like every year we have kind of one or two big projects that we work on. And last year you really redid the nav and it looks so much better now. And so we have something else in the buyer's guide we worked on a few years ago. State of the industry just got revamped. So that's more easy to navigate. So always these little projects, and it works out great.
There's a reason why it is, I think, the most visited news source in the industry right now, and analytics are impressive. So congrats to you on 3 years and in really making a difference, I think, in the information that gets put out to the industry. Speaking of which, let's talk about the industry. So we got State of the Industry coming up, and this is honestly, at first I thought this is a great idea. This is really fun. And we took a lot of fun takeaways from it, but now we're into it a couple of years and I'm like, no, actually, this is making a difference in how people are managing their businesses and the decisions they're making.
Yes, I agree. I actually was diving into the responses so far before we came on just to kind of like see how we're doing and where things are at. And one of the things we added this year was kind of at the end, how is this serving you? Is this like, do you find this valuable? And it is comment after comment, which is so reassuring to me of like, this is so valuable. We use this all the time. It's valuable for every single department in our company. Tons of comments over and over about that. And so it's fun to watch it grow every year and to find new things to dive into every year. We try to pay attention to the industry and find new trends and topics to dive into, which I know we're going to talk about. So it is so fun and so valuable and is exceeding my expectations, which is great.
Awesome. If you take just a step back, and tell all of our listeners, what is the state of the industry and how can they get involved in it?
Sure. So it is the largest study of the restoration industry. It is fully anonymous when you jump in. It takes 15 minutes or less, and it is just a survey that's gauging everything in the industry from company size, residential versus commercial work. We're breaking down like franchises versus independent companies in a new way this year to show like revenue size and growth and differences between the franchises and the independents, and how that's affecting the industry. Time to get paid, your technology usage, your like pay. We talk about pay scales a little bit, both for managers and for technicians. We're talking about AI, and I know you talked about technology, but that's another AI portion. And then this year we're adding in, we're talking about minorities and like English as a second language. How many Spanish speakers are there in our industry? What is the need there? We're diving into mental health this year. That's a new one that we're talking about, which is such a big topic in the industry. So, it's just kind of all of these things, and it literally takes 15 minutes or less, and it's fully anonymous. And so you can just go through, there's no like trick questions or anything. And because this is our third year, now we're really starting to have these like benchmarks, and we're not going to have just 2 dots now. Now we can start showing 3 dots and what it starts looking like for all the data.
Yeah. One of the coolest things, even though, and this is something that I feel like is super helpful, and maybe if I owned a restoration company, I wouldn't feel this way. But one of the coolest things about it, even though the responses or the submissions are anonymous, I think it's really, really impactful to see that like you're not alone when it comes to this stuff, right? Like seeing that like, oh, it also takes everybody else 45 days to get paid, or whatever, or like little things like that. Like, oh, other people are also worried about AI. Like AI was a big thing last year that popped up on the survey a lot. So like, there's something cool about, yes, the submissions are anonymous, but it also is really unifying to be like, there are other people out here that are also experiencing the same struggles that I am, that are maybe as frustrated as I am, that are worried about the future and things. And so it's helpful to see like, hey, I'm not alone. We're going to figure this out together. Like we can talk about this. I can maybe, talk to Michelle and reach out to somebody else in the industry. I can join that webinar. You guys always do the webinar to kind of break down the report. Like there's some really cool things that come from it that I feel like outside of just the knowledge of what's going on, like, oh man, I don't feel alone. I feel like there's other people that are also struggling with this. I don't know if you've heard responses or heard people feel that same way, but for me, it's like, oh, this is kind of cool to see that.
Yes, that is a lot of the feedback that we've gotten is, oh, it's good to not be alone. And also the value of some of the data to use in pushing back. Like if you are struggling to get paid, we are not alone. This is really actually how long it is taking to get paid in full on jobs. Look at what the industry is showing, not just me. It's not just me. And so all of these pain points, and then also kind of finding the strength in like AI is a big topic for people. And I know it can be a scary step for some restorers to take. But seeing kind of where other restorers are and how they're embracing it and moving forward, how people are hiring and getting ideas of like, what are other people doing to hire when it's really hard, and how much are people paying? Am I paying enough? Am I paying too much? It depends on the market, but lots of questions can be answered in there, and kind of filling in those gaps of, are we doing it right? You probably are.
The Success Elevated podcast is brought to you by SOS Navigator. SOS Navigator is an on-demand training platform geared towards marketing, personal development, and business growth. We understand that as a business owner in the service industry, you wear a million hats. Let SOS Navigator be a simple and cost-effective way for you to continue to grow your business. Click the link in the show notes below and use code SOS Podcast to get 10% off your next on-demand training course.
One of the interesting things I heard you just talk about, and I think this is a growing importance, is what did you put in there this year about bilingual workers and Spanish language and things like that? Give us a hint into those.
So we asked what percentage of your workforce might be Spanish speaking. And I actually don't directly remember the other questions related to it. I think there's 3 related to it, because there are softwares and other platforms, training academies in the industry that are starting to do Spanish speaking classes. We started doing some Spanish language content through C&R, those kind of things. We know that that's a really big area, and it actually doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. Like I know a restorer in North Carolina that has a lot of Spanish speaking people on her team. And so, it's something that's impacting people everywhere now. And I think it'd be good for the industry to understand how to meet those people where they are, so that that's overcoming a big hurdle into hiring some probably really good talent, but they need to understand your processes and have a way that they can also learn how to do things, what's going on in your company in their native language, instead of trying to fumble through if they don't speak fluent English, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I love the focus on that demographic. And what does that, we know what great assets that demographic is to the whole industry. Yeah. And so I love the new focus there that we're seeing. The other thing that I know we're passionate about at Spot On Solutions, and we don't have time to dive into this very much today, so hopefully we'll come back to it, is, and new to state of the industry, are some questions around mental health. This is of high importance to, I know, the Success Elevated podcast and our team here at Spot On Solutions.
Yeah, we tried to break this down a little bit. One of the questions is asking, do you do anything for this? Do you think about or address mental health at all whatsoever? And it's kind of a gauge of yes, we do, to no, we don't at all, and a little bit in between. There's 4 measures there. And so far, the pie chart that I glanced at so far is pretty equal in all of the sections, all 4 sections from yes to no. And then we also ask, what are you doing? If you are doing things, what are you doing? And I can see a lot of good feedback coming in there. So I'm looking forward to revealing those things. And hopefully they're things that will get picked up by other restoration companies that maybe need ideas in this area or haven't thought through this. It could be really timely considering we're in cat season. And so far the projections are it's going to be a bad one. And that is the time of year when things get really bad for burnout. So yeah, I'm curious though, talk a little bit about, can I turn the questions on you? I want you guys to talk a little bit about what you've done as far as mental health and why this is such an important issue in the industry. Honestly, it was watching some of your content and some of what others are doing. And there was a study on it that I think a professor he was with Middle Tennessee State, now maybe Purdue, did on burnout, specifically with estimators a few years ago. So all of these things kind of were churning in my head, and I realized it was time to talk about this. So what prompted you guys to talk about it, and what have you done?
So originally, when we did this the first time, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So 2 years ago, Success Elevated decided we would do a podcast series through the whole month of May around it. When I realized like 1 in 5 people have some sort of mental health challenges that they're dealing with in their life, and how much it impacts not just their daily life, but their work life, right? I started looking around my office and I'm like, okay, I got 60 people that work here. And if 1 in 5, that is true, what does that mean? And I felt this, honestly, I just felt this obligation to my team. I'm like, I started hearing things, and that's what sparked our interest initially, Hayden. And then from there, we just got really amazed at the things we learned and what we started implementing on our team. And then as we started talking to restorers and our clients, and how much more, I mean, we're digital marketing, right? So yeah, we have mental health challenges just like everybody else in the world. Like that 1 in 5 is a universal number, but that number is considerably higher when you look at what restorers are doing and facing and handling on a day-to-day basis. Yet it hit us pretty hard, right, Hayden, when we realized it's not being talked about in the space that is probably needs it the most.
Yeah, 100%. Like that, and I think this goes for just about any home service industry or for lack of a better term, the blue collar world, right? Like the mental health is just not talked about enough. It's not talked about enough in general. I mean, you look at any industry and just the world, and like there's a stigma when it comes to mental health, and people don't talk about it enough. But especially, like Katie said, in an industry that like you're dealing with traumatic events, or you're speaking to a customer that is dealing with probably their worst day ever. Like you're doing that every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And that can wear on you big time. And it can contribute to burnout. It can contribute to, employee turnover. Like you got employees that are quitting or that aren't showing up to work because they don't know how to deal with the stresses of the job. And so we, like Katie said, May was coming up, and we really wanted to do this series, and we had some awesome guests come on. We've been able to partner with a local counselor that's been super, super helpful and kind of opened our minds. I know there's been moments in the podcast that Katie and I have done that have been like just mind blowing to learn these things and have been super incredible. And Katie's seen, experiences in her own life. Like her son worked for a restoration company briefly and had to deal with some pretty wild things. And so there was so much that just was kind of like calling us to talk about this. And we love that you're doing it in the state of the industry, because it really is so impactful to just talk about it. We're not experts. I don't know anything about, your background, Michelle, but I don't think you're an expert either, probably on mental health, right?
No.
It's not your background's probably more in journalism than in mental health, right? So like, we're not experts here, but just talking about it more can really help your team feel like they're being cared about and they're being included. And so including it in the state of the industry, even just as a question, like something that simple can help your team know that, hey, people care about me and care about my mental health. So, yeah.
Yep. I totally agree. And, this year has been an interesting year where for a lot of people, it has been slower, and that's something to overcome as well. It's an industry that requires an incredible amount of resilience, more than probably most industries, good, bad, indifferent, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what, we've always asked the question, like, about company culture and what you're doing to feed the culture, but this is the deeper dive, right? What are you doing to actually care for your people more deeply than if you're having fun and you have a good, healthy culture? Let's go beyond that. So I'm excited to see where that takes us.
Yeah.
One of our main guests said something so impactful, and then we'll move past this because I have a couple other things I want to cover with you really fast. We'll probably come back and deep dive into a few more of these things at another time. But he said that trauma actually is the leading cause of anxiety and depression, or one of the things that really contributes. And we look around at our restorer clients, and they live lives of trauma, right?
Yeah.
They are in trauma all the time. And so he's like, it would make sense that this industry has a much higher rate of anxiety and depression and some of these challenges than are even being acknowledged, because it is the body's, the mind's natural reaction to trauma. So I think it's an important conversation. And obviously, at Spot On Solutions, like, we want to elevate people in businesses, and we feel like this conversation is one of the things that actually has the ability to make a difference in people's lives.
We do kind of get, because I found this when I worked in news, and I, would cover not great things, and you do kind of, become immune to it a little bit, or what is the word? I'm missing the word, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
It's just, numb to it, I guess. And so, but just because you feel numb to it in the moment doesn't mean it's not impacting you later. And I think that that's the thing that we miss in the industry, I think, is you're dealing with these things and you go through the motions, but that doesn't mean that what you're going through isn't hard, or that it's not going to have some sort of effect on you mentally, because we are still human. We still have these ways that we process things. And so
Ashton Holbrook actually said to us, he's our clinician that we refer to on a lot of these issues. He said, don't get irritated with your team if they show up on site to something really hard and they laugh. Like, he's like, that is the mind's natural response to a lot of really traumatic things, is to make light of it, not to make light of it because it's not important, but to make light of it because it's a way of kind of coping. So anyway, kudos to you guys for including that in the conversation this year. We're really excited to see what that turns to.
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple other things, and we only have a couple more minutes. So, Hayden, can we transition from state of the industry?
Yes. I got a couple things I'll wrap up with, but I'll let you go first. Go for it.
So before I do that, Michelle, really quickly, why don't you tell us where people can go if they haven't had a chance to complete?
That was one of my things. So perfect.
And then where, like, I would really encourage people, put it on your calendars to show up with your team on the day that you guys roll this out. So give us some of those details.
Perfect. Okay. So you can take the survey. It's at candrmagazine.com/state of the industry. Excuse me. You can also find it on our Facebook and our LinkedIn and our Instagram and anywhere. So you should be able to find it pretty easily. That's where you take it. Again, 15 minutes or less. We are partnered with Know How in this. They kind of power the behind the scenes stuff, which is fabulous. They help dig out the data and make a lot of the comparisons and the charts and stuff like that. They produce a book at the end that is amazing in conjunction with the full state of the industry issue that comes out in November. And then also in November, as Katie teed up, thank you, we're doing a webinar series. It's Leighton and I, we will be kind of deep diving into the state of the industry report. So there's 3 webinars total. One is the very first Wednesday of November, and that will be an overview of the report and all of the data. The next one is their consecutive Wednesday. So then the next Wednesday, we'll take a deep dive into one of the big topics we found for this year. And then the next one will be the same, another deep dive. And for the deep dive ones, we bring in an industry expert or two as well. So whatever kind of data comes out, that's when we'll decide on what those deep dives are and who to bring into those conversations. But those are well worth being on. So we can start picking apart the data and see what it means. And then you know what to take back to your team. A lot of it is actionable. The book that Know How puts together has actionable things for you to literally go through with your team. So this isn't just a report that's just like, here's some data. This truly has stuff that you can take back with you and work through as a team to find meaning in it for yourself.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Woo, it's so good. So it'll be great. Okay. That is not the only thing that C&R is putting out for our industry. We have the Unsung Heroes Award coming up. And I think that this is one of the newer awards in the industry. And I want to make sure you have a chance to tell everybody, what is an unsung hero? What does that look like?
Okay. Yes. So I love industry awards, and I felt like there wasn't one to celebrate. There's no offense to all the owners out there and C-suite people. There's a lot of stuff out there to celebrate like the leaders in organizations, but we have a ton of unsung heroes behind the scenes that don't get celebrated every day, and they deserve that. So that was where the Unsung Heroes Award was born from. This is the third year of it, and it's 3 categories. There's a winner in the executive level. There's a winner from field staff, and then there's a winner from office staff. We had some judges that helped figure out the finalists in this one, and we will be announcing those in the September-October issue. So you have to wait a little bit to figure out who those are, but that is coming.
Love it.
So cool. So keep your eyes out, everybody. Look around and keep an eye out for who are the unsung heroes in your organization, because I know, Michelle, this is really popular and this is going to continue on, right?
Yes, it is. And I know you guys probably saw the Customer Service Elite Award that we did earlier this year, because I think Hayden was one of the top finalists in that one. So that's something that we started for vendors. The vendors deserve more praise in this industry as well. So that's a vendor specific award that we launched this year. So be on the lookout again for that in 2025. That will for sure be back. We try to do things all year long, things that are meaningful. And if things miss, then we find something else to do, but try to keep the industry going.
Awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Michelle, what I want to do, we'll make sure all of this stuff is linked below, but anybody that's listening, anybody that's curious and wants to maybe make sure their voice is being heard, especially for the state of the industry, they got 2 weeks left. So 2 weeks left for submissions. We'll link all of this stuff below, Unsung Heroes, all of these things. Please check them out in the descriptions. Any last thoughts, Michelle, with regards to state of the industry, Unsung Heroes, anything you got big coming up?
No, that's it. I appreciate you guys having me on, and be on the lookout for a change coming on the C&R website that Katie teased at the beginning. Hayden, I want you to go figure out now if you could figure out what the most landed on page is for C&R.
Deal.
I'm wondering if anybody listening to it could figure it out. Probably, because I think that it's what people,
it's the go-to place.
Yeah.
It is the go-to place. So I'm excited about it. Thank you guys for having me on. Thank you for the chatter. I am looking forward to having Katie, hopefully you involved in the state of the industry issue, talking more about mental health there. So thanks, guys.
Excellent. Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe on YouTube or any other major podcast platform to listen to more episodes. We are proudly brought to you by Spot On Solutions. If you'd like to learn more about how we can help you grow your business, please check us out at spotonsolutions.com.